Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishwaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshimaham Om Shanti 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 Om Om Shwara Namaste. So we stopped last class on the verse 1, 11th chapter. Yeah? Mark, you remember the
Yeah.
page?
1948.
Okay, right there at the beginning. Okay, the verse says, Arjuna, after the introduction of Swamiji, introduction to this chapter that continue being about the nature of the Lord, no? But it's more in terms of Visvarupa, Visvarupa Ishwar, Visvarupa Darshana. So we have seen all of that. The first verse says, this supreme secret teaching named Ajaitam, Ajatama has been imparted by you for the sake of blessing me. This illusion of mind has gone by that. Okay, here Arjuna is trying to say that the teaching is working for him. But as we know, he will need some more work until the chapter 18th. But it is evident in the process of Vedantin that as we move along with the teachings, we see layers of delusion being dispelled. Okay, so it's very noticeable. Okay. You say that the first verse is nothing but just summarizing the previous teachings. The 11th, the teaching of this chapter begins on the verse number 2. Here he is just acknowledging the efficiency or the glory of this teaching and the way it has been working on his mind. What is the sense of the 5 chapters, the beginning, the 5 chapters? He says 5 chapters. How you say, Kanda of the Vedas. No, there are 6 chapters, but the first chapter there is no teaching. So what is the essence? The essence we have seen it's mostly about the nature of Jiva. And this central part is mostly about the nature of the Lord. Both Saguna and Nirguna, but mostly Saguna. In the 4th chapter, in the 5th chapter as well, you will, these are good homework for us. We find the nature of the Jiva is present on certain verse that Swami memorizes or has good notes about the entire Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna is acknowledging the Lord, say, I understood that well. I'm very grateful. It was given to me, in part to me by you, by your blessings, to save me from the problem of samsara. So what's the title of this chapter, of the first chapter? He's doing another summary of what we have seen so far. Arjuna, it is the first aspect is the Arjuna sorrow, Arjuna sentimental emotional crisis in which attachment to certain uh, principles or people on the other side of the battlefield made him lose his discrimination. So Arjuna's sorrow is was the obstacle, the first obstacle due to attachment, as we know. Therefore, one of our qualifications is always vairagya, non-attachment. And he says that these are the most secret, supreme, sacred, holy words. He really exalted the teaching so far being unfolded for himself and for us. Such words can only come from a huge, only source of pure knowledge. And knowledge are given to people who once assimilated and internalized are referred to as yanis. So I'm saying that yanis are somehow rare to find in the world. A few people are interested in becoming a yani. And even those few who are interested in becoming a yani, a few become a yani. Therefore, yanis, therefore, rare. Therefore, it seems to be a secret, but it's not secret. It's mostly because understanding one's true nature, which is the nature of reality, the nature of God, is something so simple, so simple, so simple that most everyone misses out. Miss out. But anyhow, then adhyatma, the words are called spiritual words, words of wisdom. Call it spiritual teaching because it's dealing with the spirit. This is very nice. I like this point because people talk a lot about spirituality, spiritual teachings, and mostly it's only referring to matter/energy. It's not referring, it's only about matter energy. It's all about meteor objects that people are trying to understand, or people are trying to superimpose on the true nature of reality, or people are just trying to have the experience of this reality, but they are superimpose some subtle objects from the subtle world of mental states or concepts and notions, or the energies of the subtle universe, or the mysticism and exoterisms of these locus above and below. None of that has to do with the spirit. It's all about matter and energy. It's important to understand that, because there is so much misleading notions dressed up as spirituality, all over the place. These words are called spiritual words for this reason. Spiritual teachings because everything is dealing with the spirit. Spiritual means that which deals with the spirit. Spirit means not methane alcohol. So I makes a little joke for the Indian people. The people who are not religious, they have to go in the store, buy a spirit, and ask them to wrap it into a newspaper and then put it under the, and then walk out. Nobody should see. But anyhow, it's not a spirit in that sense. It's not alcohol. It's not a material science, but it's a spiritual teaching. I thought he was going to say a spiritual science. I like the the term, uh, the science of reality, the science of consciousness. It is a science, but it's not an exact science such as mathematics or physics. But there are some science that even psychology has been reject as a science because it's more subtle and it's far from being exact science. But somehow we can say the science of psychology, you know. So spirituality is the science of consciousness or the science of reality, but it's very subtle. But the scriptures come to reveal that teaching, that wisdom, which is a form of a science that reveals the most subtle of the subtle, the most invisible of the visible as one's own consciousness, as one's conscious existence. Yet we have to examine the phenomenal world of Jiva's experience, day-to-day experience. We have to examine all of that to understand what remains once we negate reality to every kind of object of experience we have. Therefore, he says, my delusion is gone. Swami says we should remember the context of the Gita, teach Arjuna surrender to the Lord Krishna uttering the words. Did you translate this one or it appears down here? One side, my mind says, killing my gurus.
Yeah, I translated.
Thank you, my dear.
2:7. My very nature is overcome by the weakness of pity, and my mind is confused as to what my duty is. I ask you to tell me with certainty what is best for me. I am your disciple, and I have surrendered to you. Please instruct me.
This is so beautiful. I was suspecting that it was about that, the verse in which Arjuna says, I surrender, teach me. I love it. I love it. I love. Can you send this verse in our sharing WhatsApp? I want to get a note and put it somewhere because it's so essential, fundamental in this Vedantic process. And he was mentally and emotionally confused. On one side of Arjuna's mind would say, killing my guru, etc., is violence, is mahapapam. It's the most adharmic action that will produce a total papakarma. On the other side, the mind of Arjuna would say that even this kind of violence against my own family members and gurus are not considered to be ahimsa or himsa if it is for the sake of protection of Dharma. So just imagine the confusion. Just imagine the confusion of someone having to fight a war in which, on the other side, one's very children are fighting against you. I mean, just imagine that. Arjuna did not have children, but just imagine. So Dharma is here, and my Dharma now is to kill my two children or three or whatever, It's a very dramatic kind of situation. Another corner of the mind of Arjuna getting cleared as it listens to Krishna's teachings. Therefore, Dharma, Adharma, Moha, and Atma, Anatma, Moha, confusion regarding what's right and what's wrong, ethical conflict and philosophical confusion was running in his mind.
Yeah.
Gita is a unique teaching which is dealing with both ethical conflict as well philosophical confusion. Normally, the Vedapurva Bhaga is meant to resolve ethical conflict. Vedanta is meant to resolve philosophical confusion. Gita is a unique scripture which leads with both. Therefore, Arjuna says, I'm getting clearer and clearer as I submit my mind to your teachings. So I sometimes I do some research to understand the literal meaning of the word philosophy, but there are so many different angles of philosophy and fields of philosophy. Swamiji often presents the Jnana Yoga teachings as the philosophical teachings of Vedanta. Okay? But if I would have the opportunity to talk to him, I would ask him to explain me more clearly why he refers to that as a philosophical teaching.
You know, Arjuna, I mean, sorry, Arlinda. um, I love that word as well because the etymology of the word means the love of wisdom.
That's very nice.
From the Greek, the philo meaning loving, and Sophia, the wisdom, philosophy. Beautiful word.
Very, very nice. Can you put that in that note that you're going to share with us? Please.
Will do.
Therefore, Arjuna, yeah, because every philosophy, every field of philosophy, it's sometimes it is a hair-splitting process, logic process of trying to understand, things, understand the phenomenal world. They are just, it can be so profound and, and deep and, but a lot of that does not really produce transformation to the human being. And what I say, I tell people in Portuguese, in my Portuguese Brazilian group, is generally speaking, philosophies, they they have a lot of logic and knowledge and inquiry and it's so profound. But I don't think it transforms the individual. It just refines and sharpens one's intellect. You understand?
And the subject-object division isn't resolved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well noted. Because it is a philosophical study in respect to the phenomenal world, in this case of words, notions, and concepts, it does not transform the individual. And I often present it to my people in Brazil that if you wish, if you will, Vedanta is a philosophy for as long as it does not manifest or produce moksha or self-knowledge. Okay, so if it does not produce self-knowledge, and then is a philosophy that produces philosophical knowledge. You understand? Subtle knowledge. But still, as Lin said, it's not resolving the subject-object, issue. So it is a philosophy for as long as it does not produce the benefit of self-knowledge and freedom. And only Vedanta's philosophy has the potential to produce this kind of palan transformation, So the other now is just like it's going to sharpen one's intellect. Small side note. But here Swami Krishna Arjuna says, yes, so I'm getting more and more clear and my mind is getting more and more sharp. This is another point. If we recall our own experience as Vedantins, so since we got in contact with, especially with the Jnana Yoga of Vedanta, so our intellect, our minds have become sharper and we are becoming more intelligent and more wise. I don't know if you know it. Notice it's like your mind is just, become sharper, smarter. So I'm getting clear and clear, says Arjuna. So this is the summarized of Swamiji's summarization of the first 6 chapters. Now Arjuna wants to summarize the next 4 chapters until the 10th. Arjuna now is going to say something in reference to the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th chapter, and that comes in the 2nd verse here and now. O Krishna, verily, the origin and dissolution of beings, as well as your inexhaustible glory, were heard by me from you in details. So he was saying that you have described the vibhutis, your very nature, the glory of your nature, as the origin and the middle and the dissolution of all beings, was inexhaustibly heard by me from you in detail. Again, he's saying like you are the Sadguru, you have present these teachings in regards to your glory, and I understood it. And now I have a very, very clear vision of you as the creator, you as the supreme knowledge, intelligence. And I have a clear vision of in which way I relate to you as a creature within your creation. So all of that came through this central part of the Gita in which Krishna Guru unfolds the nature of the Lord, the glory of the Lord, and so on. All of that utilizing symbols for the sake of sadhanas. Arjuna's reverence for Lord Krishna is increasing chapter by chapter, and it should, and I'm sure it has been noted, but in each one of us as we move on with the Gita, the level of value, gratitude, and reverence to the Lord, for the Lord, increases as we go on, assimilate and understand this nature, the nature of the Lord as presented by Lord Krishna. This is a valuable teaching, and Arjuna had never really valued and admired the Lord ever before. Krishna to him was his neighbor. He was never a teacher. He was never the Lord himself. He had moved with Krishna and seen several other roles of Krishna, but he could never see him as the Lord unfolding these revelations in regard to the true nature of the Saguna Nirguna Lord, as well the true nature of the Jiva. He has never seen Krishna as a Jagata Guru. Therefore, he used beautiful words here. O Lord, who is so beautiful with eyes like the lotus petals. So here the description of the external beauty is more to show the inner beauty. Oh, Krishna, the origin, the solution, the beings around, the glory. So here Swami is presenting the words as coming from Arjuna, in which he says the eyes like lotus petals and so on. This happened in previous verse, I think, in the previous chapters, right? When he mentioned the description of the Lord who is so beautiful with eyes like lotus petals. I remember vaguely. Do you? No? So here the description of the external beauty is more to show the inner beauty. Therefore, Kamala, Patra lotus petal, not lotus leaf. If your eyes are like that, everybody will run away. I told you in the introduction, but because it was years before, I remind you now. Okay. So, Swamiji here, he's on the 11th chapter, and he's saying that he has explained already, saying maybe this description was at the beginning of the Gita, years back, he said. I I told you in the introduction, but because it was years before, and remind you this passage. De patra means petal, not a newspaper. So Kamala from the 7th chapter up to the 10th, you dealt with Ishwara Svarupam. From the 2nd chapter to the 5th, it was Jiva Svarupam. From the 7th to the 10th, it was Ishwara Svarupam, Ishwara's Vibhuti on the 10th chapter. And what was the description that you gave or definition that you gave? Krishna is, Arjuna is saying, you define the Lord as Jagata Karana. No, is the causeless cause of the universe. I knew that the Lord is the cause of the universe, and that too was what type of cause? More importantly, Lord was the very material cause of the universe, which means the Lord is the basic stuff out of whom the universe has evolved. So the universe is the body of the Lord from this standpoint. The Lord being the material cause of the universe, it means that out of the Lord alone, the universe unfolds with physicality. The universe rests into the Lord alone. The universe resolves into the Lord alone. The universe emerged from the Lord alone. So that is the verse main reference as the source and the resolution of everything. So you are Shristi, Stiti, lion, Karana, and Upadana Karana. Upadana Karana. So what is the meaning of this Upadana Karana, Lin or Mark?
Material cause. And the Nimitta is the efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Upadana material cause. Okay. The only thing that I did not improve with contact with Vedanta over more than a decade is my memories, my memory system. It remains lousy as it has always been through my entire adult life.
But you have several languages, Arlindo. I'm very impressed. Picking up Sanskrit is not an easy lift.
The problem with speaking a few more languages is that you never speak anyone to perfection anymore, you know. The technical point one should remember, material cause is the cause of Shristi, Chiti, lion, just as the ocean is the material cause of the waves are born out of the ocean, rests in the ocean, and resolves into the ocean. Very beautiful, beautifully put. Therefore, Arjuna says, we have to supply the third one. If you say what is balanced, so it's only Sanskrit here. So therefore, Arjuna says, please, Lin, help.
Therefore, Arjuna says, origin, essence, and dissolution of all living beings means origin, creation, and also destruction. And he's pointing out that the text itself doesn't supply the third one, which is the sustenance, the sthiti. Yeah.
Of whom all the things and beings in the creation, you are the origin, the sustenance, and the resolution. The whole creation of things and beings. What means what? If waves are born out of the ocean, it resolves into the ocean. What is the conclusion I get? There are no waves separate from the ocean. Are there really waves? This is a nice inquiry. Are there really waves, or there is only ocean, water? Wave is only an additional name given to the very ocean itself. In the same way, the whole creation is like a wave in the ocean of Ishwara. Shankaracharya beautifully presents it in Atma Bodha. So the entire cosmos of several billions of galaxies is nothing but a bubble. Wow, this is mind-boggling. The entire cosmos of several billions of galaxies is nothing but bubbles. So each galaxy can be compared to a small bubble. And all these bubbles of galaxies are rising from where? From whom? And there are no bubbles separate from where? From the same Ishvara, the ocean. Similarly, there is no creation separate from God. To put in another language, God is in the form of the entire cosmos. I heard very clearly, Shrutao means this was heard by me. So Arjuna is still, offering his gratitude for the gift. And how did you teach? Very elaborately, says Arjuna. The Upanishad teachers are not that patient. They give the Shristi and all within a few mantras. Well, the Upanishads, they are not something that one can study by reading the verses, because they are final declarations of identity. They are just those few mantras or Mahavakyas. You need a teacher to unfold those mantras, and explain them. How so? Very elaborately. The Upanishad teachers are not very patient. They give the verse within a few mantras. So, over, now you can go. So, I don't know, I think Swamiji is exaggerating. They will say only a few lines and you're supposed to grasp by that time. Otherwise, they will send you to some tutorial college. You can go, they will say. So the Upanishad assumes that the student needs only crisp teaching because the Upanishad students are supposed to be highly, highly qualified. Whereas in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna represents a middle kind of level disciples. No? Therefore, Krishna goes on repeating it. Therefore, Arjuna says in the 7th chapter, he repeats in the 9th chapter because Krishna knows and Arjuna also knows that by the time we come to the 9th chapter, 7th chapter is already forgotten. So this is the repetition which is integral part of these teachings of Vedanta. Whereas is the question, even the 8th is itself gone. It is too far away to remember. Therefore, the teachers, every time I thought, fresh, I'm not telling about you. I know you remember what. So very confusing passage, but he's trying to say that Vedanta is always repeating itself for different reasons, especially in a long course such as the Gita, in which things can be easily forgotten. The teaching is presented as if it is a fresh new teaching again and again. So and I see it every time. I see it every time when I when I do my class in Portuguese. When the weekend is, I love the weekends because I do Saturday and Sunday 2 hours in the morning, two separate classes in the morning, and Sunday 2 separate classes as well. And when I come and I just start reading I say, oh my God, I mean, it's the same thing. How am I going to repeat it all again? The teachers are all about the same. And then somehow you have to get out of the way, and then Ishwara starts just, presenting it as if it is newly fresh. and people hear it as if it's something fresh and new, because every moment we hear something, our minds is in a different state, and we're going to pick up on certain things and not on other things. So in the camping, in this Gita camping, 10th chapter, the culminate 10th chapter, you also revealed your glories, which is a stream or spread all over the universe. Yeah. If you have to appreciate the glory of the Lord as Krishna, then they are particular individual glories which have to be found in the Bhagavatam, 10th chapter. There you read Bhagwan killed this Rakshasa or that one, and Bhagwan lifted the Govardhana. They are all particular descriptions attributable to that particular form of the Lord. And if you want to say Krishna Mahima, that is Krishna Rama Mahima. If you want to listen, what is Mahima again?
The greatness of Krishna.
Thank you. If you want to appreciate Vishvarupa Mahima, which book you have to see? You need not see any book, but only open your eyes, and there you see Krishna's Vibhuti. So this is the Vishvarupa vision of Virat Ishwara. Therefore, the Vishvarupa Vibhuti is Avyayam. Avyayam means inexhaustible. So Ekarupa Ishwara Mahima is Vyayan, exhaustible, whereas Vishvarupa Ishwara Mahima is Abhyava, limitless, that also you talked about in the 10th chapter. Swamiji is just offering us more and more review of what we have seen recently. Therefore, Jiva Svarupa has been talked about, Ishwara Svarupa has been talked about, Ishwara Mahatmayam, another word for Vibhuti, has been talked about. All of them I have heard very well, Krishna. I have also understood it. And what is the proof that I understood it? My delusion is gone. Beautiful. Not totally. Now there is the story, but, not totally. If it was totally gone, that we would all have walked out. The very fact that Gita continues, the 11th chapter comes, then comes the 12th, and so on, it's an indication that delusion is partially gone, or gone to a great extent, but still there is some more in there. Only by the 18th chapter, the delusion is completely gone. If the delusion is gone, what is Arjuna's next request? By the way, we have finally entered the last final section of the Gita in Portuguese, and the chapter 13 is incredibly profound. It's all about Upanishadic nididhyasanas or contemplations. The teaching is very, very profound. So we still have to cross through the 11th and 12th. Tatsat, the very fact indicates that there is some more delusion to be dispelled. Therefore, Arjuna is going to ask more questions. That's the bottom line here. He will say, "It is just so as you describe yourself, O Lord. I desire to see your divine form." So now this is the part in which Arjuna asks Lord Krishna to reveal its Vishvarupa cosmic form. I think you guys remember the story, Arjuna got a little bit scared later on. because you thought he was going to see only the very, very pleasurable vibhutis. But the glory of the Lord includes all pairs of opposites, including a lot of violence and ignorance and destruction. In every verse, Arjuna adds one or two words of the Lord's glory. So in the previous verse, he adds two words, Brahma, Parameshwara, and Purushottama. Parameshwara means the Supreme Lord, the controller, not only the one who has created the world, but the intelligence sustaining it. The intelligent maintaining our physical body through physical laws of creation. Therefore, Parameshwara, you are. So he's pleasing Lord Krishna. Not only that, you are Purushottama, also mean the Supreme Lord, the greatest Lord. The word Purushottama has got philosophical significance also, which Krishna himself will teach in the 15th chapter. Nice. In fact, the entire chapter is titled Purushottama Yoga. That Krishna will point out Purushottama as Nirguna Brahmana. So those details we will see later. Here, we take the simple word only, the Supreme Lord. Here, the interesting thing is Parameshwara thing is generally used for the Lord Shiva conventionally. Even Vishnu is also Parameshwara and Purushottama. Purushottama is very conventionally used for Vishnu. Even though Shiva is also Purushottama. By using both these words, Vyasacharya wants to make it clear Shiva and Vishnu are one and the same entity. Do not quarrel. Do not make any disputes. You can continue to have vibhuti, but do not compare those symbols. Do not quarrel about them. Whatever you teach me is perfectly understandable, Lord Krishna. I have no difficulty in accepting the teaching because it is a systematic teaching. If Bhagavan is the cause and the world is an effect, the logical consequence is what? The effect cannot be separate from the cause. Therefore, the world cannot be separate from God. It's a very, very simple logical conclusion. And if the world is not separate from Ishvara, all the non-glories of the world should naturally belong to the Lord. Because of that, I have no resistance in accepting that teaching. So, and if the world is not separate from Lord, all the non-glories of the world should naturally belong to the Lord. Because of that, I have no reason in accept that teaching. So I want to see what he means by non-glories here. Let's see if it appears. Therefore, Arjuna is giving certificate to Krishna. Anyway, Krishna must be very pleased. But all the non-glories of the world should naturally belong to the Lord. So what is your understanding? You guys understand about this passage, all the non-glories?
I would think probably it means the negative glories like dissolution and death and laya, pralaya. But that's just my guess.
Yeah.
I would think it covers the dveshas, the fears and the desires are also not very glorious.
Yeah. Everything we have seen that all those objects we experience in the mental, emotional, and cognitive level, those are all vibhutis as well, right? And they can be negative. I think it's pretty much on those lines. So Krishna is happy, Arjuna is happy. Here, Atmanan means what? You are teaching or talking about yourselves, because the description of God means what? The description of Krishna only, because Krishna is the Lord. Therefore, what you say about the Lord is perfectly acceptable. Then what's my problem, says Arjuna. But this is the problem. Everything is fine. That is why chapters should come. More chapters should come, maybe. So long, but comes, but next chapter will be needed. You have to say fine without but. But there is always one but. Here also Arjuna says but. Now, intellectually, I'm able to understand that the whole world is divine, because the whole world is a manifestation of this divine power. Therefore, there is nothing that is unholy. That is the logic conclusion. Everything is sacred. Everything is holy. Everything has to be seen and worshipped as a vibhuti of the Lord. So there is nothing that I can accept. There is nothing that I can accept in what you call reject. There is no question. I divide the world into acceptable and non-acceptable. So he says everything is you. Now the pleasant things, the unpleasant things. Now, there is no question of dividing the world into likes and dislikes, acceptable and unacceptable. Because when the whole creation is God, I no longer can say, okay, God, this aspect I like, that aspect I reject. How can I look down upon anything if everything is you? Well, so this is a very profound point, because we experience duality, and the very experience of duality is a huge problem, is the fundamental problem of the Jiva Atman, because we develop likes and dislikes, raga and vesha. And the whole process here is neutralize this division between what pleases me and what does not, what gives me comfort and what does not, what gives me a sense of security and what does not. So we need to go through these teachings to understand this system in a way that we value both pair of opposites, because fundamentally we understood that living life in duality means to go unavoidably through opposite pairs all the time. And among those opposite pairs is what I enjoy and what I do not, what I like, what I do not like. Once you got that knowledge, once that knowledge became maturity, then we can offset those tendencies of rejecting certain aspects of Ishvara just because they do not conform with my likes and my dislikes when I want to keep things away. Yeah. So these teachings is going to bring Arjuna to that point in which he cannot really reject anything. He understood that everything is vibhuti of the Lord. We need to learn. We learn through our unpleasant experience. When we experience adversities, we experience some papans, we need to remember the teaching to say, this serves a wonderful purpose. I can see more clearly the connection between my actions and its results. And now I can, readjust my attitudes, words, and deeds, my mentality. So I'm assimilate the teaching. I cannot reject anything anymore, says Arjuna. Everything is you in the subtle and in the physical gross world. of objects of experience. Therefore, if I have truly assimilated these teachings, how can I reject this or that aspect of you? I know that this world is your body, and your body is the divine glory, divine power, divine intelligence. If I'm able to look at the world as your divine intelligence, provide me experience of pleasure and pain so that I can gradually but sure develop equanimity by understanding the game. If I can look at the world as divine, that will offset, neutralize my tendency to demanding experience that conform with my vasanas. I should never develop dvesha towards anything. My problem is what? One side I say everything is God, but when I come to interaction with the world, there is raga and dvesha creating this mental and intellectual disturbance of wanting to gain some things and want to avoid some things, want to accept or reject, or wanting to control my parabada in a way that I experience only favorable objects. Therefore, there is a discrepancy, a gap between what I know and the way I live my life. So this is the discrepancy, the contradiction. These teachings, they need to be assimilated and gradually internalized so that the gap of this discrepancy diminish, producing by itself a sense of equanimity as witnessing consciousness that is watching all pairs of opposites without getting emotionally heavily involved. My intellectual personality and my emotional personality, they are not properly well harmonized, and therefore you should help me in harmonizing, integrating my emotional personality with my intellectual personality. That means what? Whenever I look at this world, I should be able to have as much joy as I get in the darshanan of any form of the Lord. Because I understood Viratishwara, I understood the vision of you as the cosmic Lord. Therefore, I no longer need a temple, or I no longer need to worship a specific deity. I get the darshan of you all the time, everywhere I look. I should be able to have as much joy every time, regardless of the nature of the parabada as it presents itself to me as your very glory, very opportunate. Pleasure and pain gives us the possibility, the potential, the opportunity to understand better, this relationship between us and Jagata. Jagata is designed intelligently by the Lord to present us from moment to moment our circumstantial lives, situations, and we need to connect the dots and understand that nothing is by chance, nothing is without a purpose. Everything serves a purpose, and the purpose is to transcend the opposite pairs in this dualistic realm of subject-object. Any form of the Lord I see now, and once I develop this vision, what ananda I get, what a bliss to see you everywhere without discriminating what aspects, what features of you I want, and what features of you I reject. What a blessing now. I should have in the appreciation of this creation also 24/7, but it's not yet there completely, Lord Krishna. Now tell me, what should I do? Teach me a little bit more so that I can bridge this gap and harmonize my two personalities. Therefore, Arjuna asks this question. I would like to have the Visvarupa Darshana when I'm interacting with the world. I want to see you in every atom which presents itself in a material, subtle form of this physical universe. I want to see you in every molecule. So help me to develop this vision of you as I'm interacting with you as the world. Dayananda Swami beautifully say, we do not have the sacred cellular division at all in our Hindu Vedic culture. Everything is divine. What a blessing to be born and live in that society, you know? In many other cultures, sacred means obtaining in one part of the creation, and outside the temple, everything is secular. But for a Hindu or for a Vaidika, there is nothing called secular. Everything is sacred. Eating is a sacred puja. Remember, we are doing puja daily. Eating is puja. Brushing the teeth is puja. Snana is puja. What is in snana, if you guys know?
Bathing.
Huh? Bathing. Everything that I do is puja. And that will come only if I remember that I am always in association with you, in the presence of you, Lord. How can I have that Aisvaram, Rupa, Svarupam, Aisvaram, here is spelled different. The Darshanam, what you call sampaka or contact with that Visvarupa, Ishvara, you should help me to be able to develop this vision. This is Arjuna's request, the details of which we'll see in the next class. So what is beautiful here is the depths by which Swamis present these teachings, unfolding this verse, putting words in the mouths of Arjuna in such a profound manner, saying like, I understood everything is you, okay? I live within you. I'm integral part of you. And now I understood that. But yet, how can I just live without forgetting that I'm stepping on you, I'm walking on you, I'm, awakened in you, I'm sleeping in you. So how can I keep this knowledge present 24/7 so that I can develop this devotion, this attitude of gratitude and forgot the other expression. So how can we live that moment to moment, remembering? Because when you go to India, for example, it's so much easier. At least when I was there with Sylvia a few times in Tiruvannamalai, around those ashrams. So you see people doing gestures here and there, acknowledging the presence of Ishwara everywhere, They are doing some little things that are meaning to say that they're asking for protection. Have you seen, Mark, they get this lemon, they put underneath the the wheel of a camion or bus, there is a symbolism there that is, they do all those things, asking protect. They are going to take the road. They are going to drive for hundreds of miles. They ask. So there is those signals that everybody is seeing Ishwara and looking for protection in Ishwara, So this constant remembrance is more difficult in the West because we don't have that support all around us, And here Arjuna asks, so I understood it all, but how can I keep this vision 24/7? How can I keep this contact with you? You need help me, because one thing is to understand that you are everything. The other thing is to live from that perspective of knowledge. This is Arjuna's request, and we're going to see more tomorrow. Okay? Anything else?
That reminds me, Arlindo, of when I came back from India last time. I came back and I was walking one day, and I was asking myself, I say, in India, I see God everywhere. Everything is a symbol of God. And yet in this society, I can't see God anywhere. This was before I really recognized this. And at that very moment, I was walking past the monastery, which is just down below our house, and the bells of the monastery rang at that very moment. And it was like, oh, Ishvara, you're here as well. And you're just letting me know that you're here everywhere. It was very beautiful.
Beautiful. Very nice. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Okie dokie. So we meet tomorrow again, same time. Namaste, Shwara willing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ishwara, Namaste. Thank you, Lord Krishna, Arjuna. And we meet again tomorrow if everything goes good. Hopefully.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Arlindo.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye now.